Happy New Year! Welcome to 2025. In today's video, we are going to get our 2025 off to a fantastic start by building out a content calendar that will not only keep us organized for the year with all of our content, but it's dynamic, and I'll even show you a tool if you stick around to the end that will help you build out all of your content for the next year in minutes. Now, sure, you can find a lot of free content calendars for download doing a Google search. The trouble is with these content calendars is that for the most part, they're not customizable. So you can't really move them around to suit whatever your unique needs are or for your clients. So this particular content calendar that we're going to build together in Google Sheets, you will have full control and be able to customize it to your needs, or like I said, to your clients' needs. Now, you might know me as the process gal, but my first love has been in spreadsheets. So I may geek out a little bit on some of these formulas, but don't you worry. I'm going to actually have the content calendar that we're building together linked in the description below, as well as the list of all of the formulas that we're going to be using. They're kind of I'd consider them probably an intermediate to maybe close to advanced kind of level, but don't be too intimidated. Like I said, I will have everything linked in the description below for you. So if you're ready to organize your 2025, then grab your coffee or your drink of choice and meet me at the computer. So here we are at the computer, and this is the content calendar that I have for my Podorable Finds content. Here we go. You can see I've got all kinds of different things. At the bottom, each one of these tabs aligns to a different content pillar. So like entertain, inform, educate. There's a difference between inform and educate, but one is like, say, this is a list of things to do, and then inform would be like dog profiles. Like there's a bit of a difference there. So like these dog profiles, it's just informing. I don't have anything in here yet, but I'm going to get through that. And this is what I can use as the backbone for my make.com scenarios. See, once I start to build this out. Here's another one for educate. The difference being is that these are tips, right? Like tip sheets, like canine nutrition tips, 5 nutrition tips, 5 enrichment ideas, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what, and then I've got these on a weekly basis that I'll be putting out. But if I take a look at some of the other, like say entertain here, these will be daily content pieces. I have some of them already built out. I built out for about a month in advance. So you can see that I've got them based on the different content pillar, the platforms that they're going to be posted to, as well as what the status is. That's how I've got this broken up. And then if you click on the different months, I've just got this in a drop down, then you can see we've grayed out the days of that wouldn't show up in those particular blocks, right? Because it's outside of the actual month. The red just means I don't have the content yet. And this is fully dynamic. So you can see that if we scroll down to the bottom even, right, it's only the days that are actually within the month that will be darker. All of the rest will be lighter. So anyway, back in January, now we can see these, like if it's posted, planned, pending. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from scratch. This is a brand new, fresh sheet. And here we are. This started off in D2 and E2. We've got the month, January, year, 2025. Welcome to 2025. And you can kind of, like customize these, like put them, I like them centered personally. And I'm going to start this off in B. Actually, yeah, I should probably move these over, but I'm going to start in B5. And I'll put in the day of the week, and then I'll skip 2, put in the next day and skip 2, because if you remember, in each one of these columns, for each day, we have 3 different columns. One is going to be the pillar. The next is going to be the platform, pillar, platform, and the status, basically. So these 3, we're going to, that's the day, just make that a little bit more, because this is just going to be a number. It's just going to make it easier to see across the top and have everything kind of in one view. So those 2, I'm just going to highlight them, click copy, and then paste special, the column with only. And so I'll do that right across, paste special, and second from the bottom is column with only. That's really all I want to do. so that I got this kind of consistent. And then when we're done, be special, there it is, column with only, so that when we're done, we can see everything kind of on the one page, right? So we're not scrolling back and forth and stuff. And I noticed something wrong here. I started the, you can start there. You can start your week off on Monday or a Sunday. I actually like it on a Sunday, so that's what I just need to move them around. Saturday. There's Sundays and Saturday is the end there. And then I'm just going to make sure that I do this. There. So now you can see everything in the one page. And what I'll do is I'm just going to merge these first 3 cells, merge them, and then I'm going to center that. It's unlike Excel where it just does merge and center together. But what I can do is then I can just use the little paintbrush to copy the formatting across. There you go. The next thing that I want to do is maybe I'll just kind of color these. It'll just make it a little bit easier to see. And yeah, so I think I like that color just for now, just so that we can see across the top, and it just makes it a little bit clearer for us. And the other thing I don't like are these grid lines. So what I'm going to do is just highlight the whole thing, just that upper left-hand corner. The grid lines are going to be white, and I'll click all right there. Boom. So it's kind of my little trick so that you don't have all of those grid lines there. It just makes it, I think it makes for a nice clean look. But then we can put grid lines around our boxes for our days. Again, the paintbrush, and we can use this and our paintbrush, and we can do this all the way across. And then we're going to go down. We're going to use 6 basically blocks of rows, because for some months it does go into the 6th week. So like if you have the first of a 30-day or 31-day month that starts on the Saturday, your last day is going to end up in the 6th week, the way that it goes. So now we've got these little boxes right here, which is where we're going to put the number of our days. So this is kind of the a bit of a trickier formula here that we're going to use. Now it seems like it should be easy, but to make it dynamic, it gets a little bit interesting. Now we can just go equals day, and now in Google Sheets, the date format has to be, it goes by year, so we're going to lock that down by pressing F4. Month, right? And we're going to do January. Now, unfortunately, we're going to lock this down, but we have to put in &1, because otherwise it sees this as a string, not as a month. Like it sees it as a word. And then day. So we're just going to do (1) because we want to go from the first of the month, right? So that's what this looks like. But if we just use that, it's going to say 1, right? But if we copy this across, right? So if we wanted to say copy that and put this over here, it's just going to be 1 all the way across. We don't want that. We want this to go up in increments for each day, right? So what we'll have to do now is, we know that the first of January was on a Wednesday. It wasn't then. So now what we have to do is minus the weekday, which is going to be the same format of this date formula. So date, year, we start with year. We lock that down with our F4, comma, month, use the exact same thing, which is the E2, lock it down, and then the &1 so that it knows it's an actual month. I know it sounds weird, but that's just the way that Google Sheets works. So now we just click enter, and now we can see that's correct, right? Because that's 3 days before the first of the month. So we see that that works, but it's not changing. We know that Sunday was 3 days before the first, but it's still not dynamic. So we have to add a little bit more to this formula to make it dynamic, so that it goes, and we don't have like -3, because we don't have to, -3 of any month kind of thing. So to do that, we're going to have to make it dynamic, we have to put in the columns. So it's column D6, right? For this, because for that cell, D6. And then we're adding the column. And then we have to do that with a, and that one's not going to be locked down, but we will have to lock it down minus column D6. So we're going to say that this minus the locked down column, because that will make it dynamic. So we're locking it to this particular D6. We're going to divide it by 3 as well, only because we have 3 columns. So this is kind of an extra step. We have to divide it by 3 because we have the 3 columns per sort of date block, right? So that will help. Then we have to do the same for row. So we're going to do row D6 minus row lockdown D6. D6. What am I doing? It's 6. There we go. And we have to lock that down with our F4. And the thing is with this is that now we are going to have 6 different blocks, right? So we have to divide this by 6 because it's 6 blocks all the way across. So now that we've got that, the divided by 6, because again, we've got our 6 blocks, right? We have to times 7 because we have 7 days of the week. So we have to do this 7 times, if that makes sense. And then we do a +1 at the end. And I just realized I was doing this all in the wrong cell. So here we go. That should have been in D6. So there we go. Now we see that this is the 29th, which it was the 29th of December. If we copy this across now, and we're just going to control, we're going to hold down the control button as we select all of those. So now we see 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Now I can take this, copy it, and just paste it across. And we can see that it does fill in all of these days. Done. Right? So at least we get our days right. We can test this by putting in a new month, February. And let's just, February, it's the Saturday it starts on. August, I have no idea. When does August start? Oh, it starts on a Friday. There we go. So, but we're going to go back to January so we can see that this is now dynamic. All of these days that you can see, if we just go control and hit them, there we go. And we're going to do a bold. And then what I'm going to do is just use our little paint, looks like a paintbrush, just to copy this formatting down, because I want these numbers to be a little bit more bold and stand out in the calendar. Okay, now you can go back at the end and do all the formatting. I kind of like to do it as I go, only because I can see it then, right? Because I might forget something at the end. And we do have a bunch of formatting that we were going to need to do at the end anyway. So there we go. This is all of the dates. So if we can see here what we're going to do, see how it's grayed out for the days that aren't in the month. So I'm going to rename this sheet, just kind of right click on the tab and type in calendar. There we go. I'm going to add a couple of sheets. There's just that plus sign at the bottom. And I'm going to call this is going to be whichever pillar you have. We'll call this one Inspire. You can have as many pillars as you want. 4 or 5 is usually plenty, but we'll use 2 of them, Inspire and Educate. Those are 2 very common content pillars that you'll likely will have, or your client will likely have. And then we can start to build these out because we're going to need to fill in the main calendar. So we'll have the posting date, the pillar. This will be really helpful for the thing. The platform, so where we want to post to, the status. Those are the key things. And then we can say whatever, like the Inspire, the topic is, and this is all of the stuff that you would use, captions. This is all the stuff that you would use for your make.com scenarios. So let's just say this is it for now. And you can fill in the rest of it based on whatever it is that you want. We're going to copy that and put it into the Educate. And then the posting date here, what you can do is we can just say January 1st, 2025. Just put in the date, whatever date. January 2nd, 2025. If we put in 2 dates in a row, then you could highlight both of these and take this little fill handle, bottom right-hand corner, and drag it to the bottom, right? So you can see it goes all the way down. And you can just kind of drag this down. I will show you another way to do this as well, but this, so if you can just kind of go down 360 odd days, 367, there we go, 300, it'd be 365, right? But since we have something in A1, it's 3, you're down to 366. There we go. So now we have every day. So this might be a daily thing, a daily content. You just double click on that, the bottom right-hand corner again, that'll just fill it through. The platform we're going to, or the pillars and for the platform, this is going to be like, is it TikTok, is it Instagram, whatever. So here we're going to go into the data validation under data, drop down, and then here we can put in some different values for our drop downs. So that we could say YouTube, maybe Instagram, and maybe Twitter or X, right? So we can, whatever platforms you typically use, and you can add as many as you want to, right? So I'm going to just put the colors in here based on kind of their platform colors, right? Sort of. You can allow multiple selections there as well. So this way, if you know that you're going to use a couple of different platforms, now, I'm just going to wrap this so we can see it all there. See, there it is. Make it a little bit wider there. Now, if we select this and the fill handle, bottom right corner, double click, boom, it fills it all in all the way to the bottom, as you can see. And then the status, again, what we're going to do is another drop-down menu. So here we can just go at drop-down. That's the other way that you can do your drop-downs. And the drop down, what we'll say here for the status, it could be planned, right? Pending. So planned means we don't have the content yet. Pending means we're just waiting to get it posted. And then posted obviously means that it's posted. So let's use the red, green, yellow kind of. You can use whatever colors you want. I find it easier just visually to see it. But we're not going to allow multiple selections because you can really only have one status at a time. So let's just say that the first few are pending, and then we can say we've got a few that are planned. Planned will be red, and then you just double click on the bottom and it'll fill in the rest. Now you can worry about your topic and your captions, etc. And that's pretty much it for this. So then again, the rest of it we can worry about that. Now, if we want to convert this to a table, go to Format, or you can do Control-Alt-T on Windows, and there you go. You've got this as a table now. Sometimes tables can be easier to work in. Google Sheets is a little bit different from using Microsoft Excel. I find Excel is much easier using your tables, but there you go. Now, you can do is a valid date. If you double click now, you go to date picker. I like using a date picker for the weeklies because then I can see what day of the week it falls on. But if you just go into your date validation, is a valid date, and then you're going to have your thing. You can go to the format number and then the date. I like to just kind of put in so I can see what day of the week it's on as well. Now here, I'll just say +7 equals that cell +7, then it's a week later. And then I can just kind of copy that down until I've got about 50, because although we have 52 weeks in the year, but like roughly 50, you might go 51, 52, whatever. So there you go. So you can see it's 52 weeks. It doesn't matter if you go a little bit over, it's fine. So the pillar again is inspire, and we can just kind of, so we'll just keep that. And then we can copy this from the previous, right? And we can see that it's all there, properly formatted. And again, we can just kind of drag this all the way down if you want, or you can double click it. There we go. And then you can just kind of change them if you want, copy, paste, however you want to do this, because that's the thing. This is all yours. You can kind of figure out whichever way. And if you want to have different statuses on here as well, like that's cool too. This is just kind of how I've done it, but because this is yours, you can add whatever you want to this. Okay, so now we're going to just do the same thing here. We're going to copy this list over here. Now, with your list, you may choose that this is going to be going on Twitter as well, or you can add more items to your list if you want to, and by using your format. And of course, you can just kind of do this, boom, and double click down. Again, your topic, your captions, and then you just kind of select all of this, your upper left-hand corner, right? So that you can fix your widths, etc. There. So in here, now you just do your Control-Alt-T and convert it to a table. Now, what's a good idea too is that up in this upper left-hand corner, just to rename the table, and you just click on where it says Table 1, whatever, and name it your pillar. And if you have different types of content for each pillar, that's okay too. So now you've got your two different pillars. And now that we've got kind of all of our background stuff done, we can start populating our calendar. But to do this, we're going to need a helper column. If we go back into mine, when we go back into this main calendar, we can now have our pillars included. So here we're going to put in a little legend for our statuses. So we have planned, pending, and posted. And here what we're going to do is we're going to put in a little icon. So if you just click at, or emoji, sorry, yeah, the emoji, I was going to say icon, but it was emoji, and then just type in here in the search red. And we're going to center that. And then the same thing here, we just go at, emoji, and then type in yellow. You can see your little yellow dot. And that's how you get these little dots, right? And then emoji again, and we're going to take green, boom, and then we're going to center this. Perfect. So there, see, we've got it all sorted. I'm going to just move this over. There we go. So I want to change those. It's just one of those things where I want it to look really consistent. So I'm going to make that white border. There we go. Now, this is mine. You can see I have a helper column, and it has all of these dates. And this was the only way that I could figure it out. I actually have them in my calendar, but they're hidden. So this is the kind of stuff that you're not going to see in some of those free downloadable content calendars, is these kind of hidden fields or whatever. So right here, what we're going to do is we'll just call this, well, may as well just call it our helper column as well. Helper column. And here, what we can do is we can put in the dates, right? So we're going to use the same formula. This will help at least to get it started. And we're going to need to make sure that we got enough days that will fit this full calendar, right? But we'll make it dynamic. But we use this formula, the date. And again, we open brackets, and then it's going to be our year. We lock it down because we need to always refer to that. Month, which is again January, so it's in this E2, and we're going to lock it down, and we need ampersand 1, remember, because it thinks that this is just a word and not an actual month. The ampersand 1 helps Google Sheets know that this is an actual month, and then comma 1 minus, and then the weekday. So we have our date minus weekday, and we're going to use the same date format, which is the year, lock it down. And again, this formula is going to be in the description below, comma, month. And again, we've got our month. What is it? Lock it down, ampersand 1. So it knows that it's an actual month, comma 1, right? So that's the first day of the month. So there we go. We're going to double bracket that, close the whole thing up. And then we're going to add all of these row. So we're just kind of, I could have copied the formula itself, but we're going to go through it again. So we've got the B6 plus row, and then of course we've got to lock down B6. No. Or sorry, this one is going to be A6 because we're linking all the way back to the very beginning cell. It's a weird quirk to this one. +1. There we go. Now, this specific, again, it's going to be in the description below. Now we want to copy this down. We've got 6 weeks, 7 days by 6 weeks. So we're going to need to have 7 days a week by 6 weeks. So we're definitely going to want to have about 45. We can even have, we can see that the last day here was February 8th. So if we just go down to there, right, it's February 8th. That's as many as we would need. So that's kind of a little hack to see if you've pulled that down enough. So that's it. Now this, no matter if we change the month, this will also change what the first date in the first block here in this D6, it'll change that. If you're finding this video helpful so far, it would really help out my channel if you hit that subscribe button. Now, back to our video. But what we're going to do here is we're going to equals this cell. So we want to refer to this cell. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a +1 to that so that we're going to get to the next cell down. We want to make sure that it is as a date, just to make sure, because sometimes if for whatever reason, it might just decide that no, this is a string. And so it'll throw errors back in your, and we make sure that that's formatted as a date as well. Because it could throw errors. It's happened to me before. So it's going to be that +1. And we're going to just copy that across. So if you just go Control and select all of those and then Control V, it just kind of copies it all the way across. So you can see that they're all there. And now this one, we're going to do this +7 because it's a week later. But we can also take these because that's going to be that +1. If this makes sense to you, I hope that it does. I hope that you kind of get the logic behind all of this. But if not, just follow along exactly like this. We're going to just Control and select those, Control V, and now we can just basically take all of this, copy it, and paste it down for the next 4. There we go, blocks. That's it. Now we've got all of these dates here. We can just put those, we can change the font. So you can just kind of select, or just select the first one kind of thing. But if you just Control click on each one of these and then change the font to white, like where is it? Not that, this. Change that to white. See there, it disappears. Basically it, right? So you can take your little paintbrush and then do that across here as well. So now you can't see those dates, but they are there, and we will be referring to these cells to be able to fill in this entire calendar with whatever is in our different sheets here. So there we go. Now, we will get into the formatting of this to make sure that only the days that are active in the month are visible. But for right now, we're going to do a VLOOKUP of the date here in this cell, right? We're going to look up this date so we'll start with our inspire, comma, and then we can just go start typing in inspire because that's calling in the table, right? Remember we named it inspire and we're saying inspire all. We want to look up the entire table in 2 because we want to pull out the pillar, which is in B, which is the second column. So that's what the VLOOKUP, if you're familiar with that function. and then false because we want the exact whatever is back in that particular cell, we want that to come back. This is going to throw an error because we don't have anything for December 29th, right? That date isn't in this table. We start at January 1st. So in order to mitigate that, we can just go, we can put in our if is NA. And what if is NA does, we're going to copy this. It just says, so if we're going to end up with an is NA, then we want to have it blank. Otherwise, we're going to use this if function. So this is called, or this VLOOKUP function. So this is an if with a VLOOKUP. This is a double function. I know it can seem a little bit confusing. Okay, so now that we have that, we can copy it, and we can paste it all the way across. You can see Inspire is now showing up because it actually is in the 1st of January, right? It's not going to show up in these previous days. Now what we can do is we can just kind of look and do the exact same thing for our, the platforms. So that's in column C, which would be the 3rd column. So we can do another VLOOKUP, but this time we're using the 3rd column. So it's going to be pretty much the exact same syntax, right? So we're going to VLOOKUP that guy. And then we're going to say Inspire. We can just type this in, Inspire all. There we go, comma. And then we're going to do 3, right? Because that was in column C, which is the 3rd column, and then false. Again, we're going to get our NA, but we know how to fix this, don't we? Because we're going to do our if is NA. We're going to copy this first. And we're going to go if, open bracket, is NA, open bracket. We've got this. We have to bracket that whole thing. If that's an NA, then we want, oh, wait a second, what did I do here? I deleted that by mistake. Then we want it to be double quotes is blank. Otherwise, we want to have the VLOOKUP to work. Done. So it's the same thing. We can just copy this and paste it across. Make sure you're going into the right cell and see, we can see that it's already showing up. Perfect, right? It's basically the same thing. We rinse and repeat then for the other pillar. But for this one, this is a slightly different one because we're going to be calling into our little thing here, our legend. So we're going to go if the VLOOKUP. So we're going to do a VLOOK. This is going to be a tricky formula. So we're going to VLOOKUP that in our Inspire. And we're going to look up, so what we're saying here in 4, because that was column D where our statuses were. So what we're saying here is if that, when we look up this, if that equals pending, and you have to put quotations around it, then it's going to be this, yellow. So that's what we're saying. So if the status there is pending, then we want it to be this yellow dot. Otherwise, we have got 2 more selections, so we have to put in another if. So this is considered a nested if. Otherwise, if the VLOOKUP, if in that sheet, the status, we're going to go back into Inspire all, if that status is another one, then it's going to be the other dot, right? So VLOOKUP Inspire for false equals, and again, you got to put it into your quotation, planned, then it's going to be this red dot. So we're going to click on that, and we have to lock that down. So we do our F4. Otherwise, it's going to be our, O3. So we're going to do an F4 here as well to lock that down. Double brackets, and then enter. We're going to get an NA again because we don't have anything for the 29th, right? That value isn't bound because it just doesn't exist. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. So we basically have to have this twice. And we're going to say, oh, oops, if is NA, open bracket, this whole thing. So if this is NA, which we know it is, then we're going to do our double quotations to say blank. Otherwise, it's that whole function again. That's really all this is saying. Now again, and we're going to have to close this out with more brackets. There we go, because we've added more variables, let's just say. So then we can copy that, paste it, paste it, paste it. See, we can see that that's a yellow. For some reason, that's not working. Let's just, I'm going to have to go back into this. Yeah, so sometimes this happens with the tables. This is what I found with some of these tables. There we go. What did we do? There we go. So sometimes what we have to do is just re-copy it. They can be finicky, but don't worry. I've got all of this in, like I said, in the description below. Now all I'm doing is just wrapping this text so that it fits. So we want all of these to be wrapped. So we can just click that and wrap it. And then what I'd like to do is kind of put these all centered within. So like there, like within the cell itself. Now with all of this, I can just do a copy, paste all the way down. And if you end up changing, so just we're going to go all the way down here. And if you end up changing any of these statuses or whatever, then this will all change dynamically for you depending on the month and all of that kind of stuff, right? So basically, we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to copy and paste this down. We have to be very mindful, though, that we change the right, we're calling into the right table. Sometimes look, it's not coming up, the educate table name. Nope, not coming up. So that's okay. If the table isn't kind of calling in, because that can happen sometimes, what we're going to do instead is we can just go into the table, go and then select the whole thing. It will end up coming back as table. It's really bizarre. So educate in 1, 2, F55. Now what we're going to want to do is F4 this because we want it to always just lock down this entire table. And I'm going to copy that and put it here. See, and now it says table 2 all. It's funny. I guess the name change didn't work. And we're going to do that. I'm just going to copy that in here. Make sure that I'm calling into B6 because that's the one that we want. So that's just kind of my little cheat code for doing that. And look at that. It'll ask me to correct this. And then we're going to just do this. And again, change up all of these. And I know it seems a little bit finicky, and it is. But once you're really used to a lot of these formulas, like this just becomes second nature, honestly. The nice thing is that once you have this done once, you never have to do it again. You can use this calendar not just for 2025, but for 2025 and beyond. So that's kind of the nice thing. So we can just kind of paste this all the way across. And now we've decided to start this not on the first Wednesday, not on the 1st. We're going to be starting this on I guess the 8th, I think. Yeah. And I see where my mistake is. See where it says inspire? That was supposed to be educate. So all I have to do now is actually just go into the other sheet because I see here, like see the pillar, it should be educate, which now I will just drag all the way to the bottom. But when we go back to our main calendar, we'll be able to see that it will actually change because we've changed the value here, and you can see how this is all completely dynamic. Okay, so now that we've got this, now we've got it right, we can just paste that last 1, and here we are. So now we've got this filled in, and if we, now we're coming into the home stretch, right? So we want to make sure that anything that is active, like the active days, that they all, we're going to just, that they're only dark if they're in that month. So what we're going to say is that if these dates is greater than 7, then we want it to be gray. That's pretty much all that we're going to say. Cell is not empty. There we go. So see, you can see this is just all of the formatting that we're going to do. So all we're saying is that if those in the first week, so we're going to change we know August. So see, you can see they're all gray. All of the days for the first 6 days, if it's greater than 7, we want those numbers to be gray. So you can see that changes dynamically, right? So we'll get all of this formatting done. It's a little bit tedious, but like I said, in the attached below, so we're going to say this one, I've got this already done, and all of the formatting is done for you for every single cell. So what we're going to say here is that in this cell, if, I'm going to put it in as a custom formula, equals D6. So if what's in there is greater than 7, then we want that to be gray. Done. And then we're just going to basically go back into here, and we're going to just click on add another rule. And we're going to do the same thing to B8, B9, right? We'll just continue on this through the whole thing. And we can rinse and repeat. C7, C8, C9. There. Now what's going to be a little bit different is because, so if we go into, again, just change the month back to August, now you can see that is grayed out. But we still have the red dot. So this is going to be a slightly different conditional format. We'll go into January. And so for this, what we're going to say is we're going to put in a formula for this. We're going to add into our formula, and we're going to put in an if. If this date, because that's in the first week of the month, if that date is less than 7, then blank blank. Otherwise, this whole thing. And then we're going to have to close out the bracket at the very end of this entire function. So that's all we've done, is we're just adding in that little piece of formula at the beginning of this monster formula, right? So that's it. Just this, if that is less than 7, boom. So now let's go back to August, and we can test this out. Didn't seem to work. Let's see. If I said greater than. Let's try that again. It's easy enough. I clearly cannot type and talk at the same time. But if we just, let's do January again. But basically that is it. We can copy this formula, this piece of formula, if it's greater than 7. So if that is greater than 7, then there we go. And then we can just kind of copy that all the way across. Boom. Right? So this, it's a little bit tedious, but we'll do this for the entire first week. And then if we're looking at the last, sometimes we have a month, the month will end in this 5th week, say to about there. So all of these, we're going to do the same thing, except this time. So if you just go Control and select each one of these, we're going to go into our format, conditional formatting, and we're going to, again, so we're going to say that if it is greater than, or less than rather, if it's less than 14, because 14 is 2 weeks, then we're going to do this gray, done, boom. So this should change again. So it's kind of just flipping it the other way around so that we can see that it's going to be the same. And then here, what we're going to do is we're going to format this. The conditional formatting is going to be, again, if we're going to use our custom formula is, so it's that, if that cell now, so we're going to say D36 is less than 14, then we're going to want this all to be gray. So we're going to have like no color background and then gray. Done. Right? But we're going to add another rule. So we'll just kind of rinse and repeat this all the way through. There. And now what I've done is I've just kind of, yeah. And so we're going to do this same formula piece here. There are if this one is less than 14, then blank, otherwise, and then we're going to close out our brackets. So I just wanted to cut out all of that, like, so you don't have to watch me doing this over and over and over again. But we'll copy this. There we go. And what we'll do is I'll get through all of these for you, but this is fundamentally how it works. Data validation. So now that we've got all of that done, we are now going to put these into drop downs, and I'm going to speed through this. There. So now that that's all kind of sped through, we can see, okay, perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have all of these the same color. I'll just use my color picker there, boop, and format that all the way across. There we go. So I've just kind of sped through all of the formatting for you so that you don't have to worry about it, but it's all done now for the entire sheet, which is your template that is linked in the description below, as I mentioned. So now you've got this that you can fully customize. Now let's see what we can do to fill in this automatically for the year. So GPT, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go into here, this GPT, and we're looking for GPT for sheets and docs. And here we go. And right there, you have a custom prompt so you can fill in all of the data. And we're going to review this in next week's video in full. So you'll have this, we'll go through this in detail so you can generate your entire year's worth of content right within this sheet. So there you have it. You've got a full-on content calendar that is completely customizable to your needs, and it acts as the backbone for your Make.com automations. Next week, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on the GPT for sheets and docs so that you can see how you can use it to actually generate all of your content for the year in minutes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you don't miss it. Now, if you need help customizing this content calendar for yourself or for one of your clients, please don't hesitate. Reach out. Let me know. I'm always happy to help. But until next time, thank you so much for watching and happy organizing.